Good morning, dear class 10 students. Dear students, let us continue with the same chapter, that is United Nations. And in this particular video, I will be explaining to you the International Court of Justice. The International Court of Justice is the principal judicial organ of the United Nations. So the International Court of Justice basically deals with the judicial matters of the United Nations. That means it deals with the law and order, and also it plays as a court of the world. Its seat is at the house in Netherlands. So International Court of Justice is in Netherlands. It began work in 1946 when it replaced the Permanent Court of International Justice, which had functioned in the peace palaces since 1922. The court has a dual role. So court has two different roles. First, to settle the problems in accordance with international law, the legal disputes submitted to it by the states, and if any legal problem has come from the different states, then that means the different countries, or the legal problems which has come from the United Nations, then that also International Court of Justice will call studies and gives the decision of those particular disputes submitted to the International Court of Justice, and to give advisory opinion on legal questions referred to it by duly authorized international organs and agencies. And also it gives the legal advice to the member states, and whatever legal advice or the legal questions are coming from the international organs and agencies, so it tries to solve and deal with certain, we call the legal questions of the world as well as the different agencies of the world. Now, composition. The court is composed of 15 judges elected to 9 years term of office by the United Nations General Assembly and Security Council, sitting independently of each other. So in a composition we can see International Court of Justice has 15 judges, and they are all elected for the 9 years, and these all 15 judges are elected by the General Assembly as well as the Security Council. It may not include more than one judge from every nationality. So this particular International Court of Justice may elect one judge from different, we call the nations. So each nations will represent one judge. That means the 15 judges will be appointed from the 15 nations. Elections are held every 3 years for 1/3 of the seats, and retiring judges may be re-elected. The members of the court do not represent their governments but are independent magistrates. So the members of the court, these all judges, they do not represent their own country, they do not represent their own government, but they represent the country, and they work independently, freely, as a magistrate of the court. The judges must possess the qualifications required in their respective countries for appointment to the highest judicial offices, or be jurists of recognized competence in the international laws. So the judges who are there in the International Court of Justice, they must be having the proper qualifications to be the judge of the International Court of Justice. The composition of the court has also reflected the main form of civilization and the principal legal system of the world. The court elects its president and vice president for a 3 year term. So, International Court of Justice also elects one president among the 15 members and one vice president. And that particular president and vice president, they work for 3 years. They may, when their term expire, when they complete their duration, can be re-elected. The court has the power to appoint its registrar. So court also has the power to appoint the registrar. Now let us deal with the power and functions of the International Court of Justice. The parties. Only member states may apply to and appear before the court. So the United Nations members or the countries only can apply or would call present the legal issues to the court. The member states of the United Nations are entitled to appear and apply before the International Court of Justice. So same thing, the United Nations members, they have the freedom to put forth legal questions and legal matters to the International Court of Justice. Sources of applicable laws. The court decides cases in accordance with the international treaties and conventions in force, international customs, and the general principles of law as subsidiary means, judicial decisions, and the techniques of most highly qualified publicists. So, as it is saying the line in the second point, source of applications, how does it apply the laws? So, court decides case in accordance with the international treaties and the convention of force. So, this is the point. Now, voluntary jurisdiction. The court is competent to entertain a dispute if the state concerned agree to take the issue to it. So, court also has the freedom to deal with the dispute or the problem which has come from the different countries and has become as an international issue. Now, compulsory jurisdiction. The court has compulsory jurisdiction in the following areas. Number one, against the breakdown that a large number of the treaties provide the disputes are submitted to the court. So, it is saying that a large number of treaties provided and large number of agreements are made, and in that agreement the problem is coming and that problem is submitted to the court, then the court legally gives the judgment. Number two, its jurisdiction extend to first, disputes pertaining to the interpretation of the international law, b, reparations, ed, expansion to be made for the we call breach of an international obligations. Was a adversary opinion. The adversary procedures of the court is open slowly to international organizations. The only bodies at present authorized to request advisory opinion of the court are 5 organs of the United Nations and 16 specialized agencies of the United Nations family. So only we call the 5 organs of the United Nations and the other 16 specialized agencies have the right to put their own problems and they can get the advice from the International Court of Justice. So, dear students, we have to talk up to this point in this chapter, and this way I could say that this chapter is over. And then we can move to the another chapter, that is we have the chapter 14. There we will be talking about the major agencies of the United Nations. And here in this particular chapter, we will be basically dealing with the point United Nations Children Fund, UNICEF, and we have the World Health Organization, and one more point we have, that is the United Nations Educational, Scientific, and Cultural Organizations. So these are the three main agencies which we have to deal in this particular chapter. So dear students, thank you for today, and then I will explain to you this chapter in the next video class. Thank you. Good afternoon, dear class 10 students. Dear students, now through this video, let us discuss about the major agencies of the United Nations. And in this particular chapter, we will basically deal with three main points, and among them we have the first point, that is United Nations Children Fund, or in short it is called UNICEF. The United Nations International Children's Emergency Fund was created by UN General Assembly during its first session in 1946 to help the emergency need of children in post-war Europe. In 1950, its program was extended to provide long-range benefit to the children of all developing countries. Later on, its name was changed to United Nations Children Fund. However, its acronym UNICEF continued. That means the title remained as it is written as UNICEF. UNICEF is governed by a 36 members executive board which reviews UNICEF activities and approves its policies, country programs, and budgets. So UNICEF basically works for the betterment of the children who are affected in different wars, or we call different natural, we call the disasters. So we could say that in all over the world there are so many children who are, we call, orphan, who have lost their parents in different, we call the wars, as well as in because of the natural calamities. So the United Nations has taken a great step to provide and to work for the development of the children group and to build up their, we call, the future. With that reason, the UNICEF organization was established by the General Assembly, and as it is said that you can see the this particular organization was established in 1946 to help the emergency need of children in post-war Europe. So dear students, whenever any war takes place in any part of the world, then we could see that because of the wars, the children are directly affected. They are mentally and physically, they are directly affected, and they find themselves alone without any, we call, the support of anybody. So in order to create a happiness and proper physical mental development, The United Nations has organized this particular UNICEF, and for the betterment of the children of the world, the UNICEF also gets the we call the huge amount of money for the proper function of this particular organization, and to provide the necessary materials or the needs to these children. Now, headquarters. The UNICEF has its headquarters in New York and has more than 200 offices in developing countries. So, this particular agency has so many branches in many parts of the country or many parts of the world. The finance for the financing its project, the UNICEF depends on volunteering contribution made by different governments. So financially, UNICEF gets we call the donations from the governments of different countries, donations made by private agencies, sales of greeting cards, and through various fundraising campaigns are done in order to raise the we call the money or the amount. Sale of UNICEF card is an important source of income. Worldwide sale of these cards generates fund of more than $100 million, of all which is spent on program to benefit children. So whatever amount is raised by different programs, that all money are actually used for the benefit or betterment of the children. So almost all these resources of UNICEF are divided or diverted to the poorest developing countries, with the large share going to children up to the age of 5. So this particular amount or the money which is collected or we'd call the collected through the selling of we'd call the greeting cards as well as the donations. This particular money is basically spent to those poor countries where the children are mostly affected by the poor condition of the we call the country, as well as the poor policies of the governments of that particular country. Along with WHO, UNDP, and other United Nations agencies, UNICEF has achieved success in fulfilling its objectives. Now, objectives. The main objectives of UNICEF is to look after children's welfare, especially in developing countries, by providing people with low cost community based services in material and children health, nutrition, and immunization. So, this is the main objective of the UNICEF. If you want to understand the uh, UNICEF, would call the program, then you just read the objectives. You will get the clear picture of this particular agency, why this agency is established. So you can get the proper answer by reading objectives. The functions. The UNICEF provides service in the primary health care, nutrition, basic education, sanitation, and women's development in developing countries. The main functions of UNICEF are broadly divided into the following categories. So now let us talk about the functions. So before I go to the function, you can see the UNICEF provides service in primary health. So the children are given the primary health and also the proper nutritions in the form of proper food, good food, and also they are provided the good educations, and also the proper care is given to the women through these agencies. First, UNICEF works for the protection of the children in respect of their survival, health, and well-being. Okay, so you can take this line that UNICEF works for the protection of the children in respect of their survival. Survival means for their uh, living. Number two, it provides fund. You can take these points. It provides fund for the training personnels, including health and the sanitation workers, teachers and nutritionists. We call the universal child immunizations against prevailing disease. So you better take. It provides fund. Okay, UNICEF provides fund for the training personnel. So there are trained personnels or the people who have the quality of looking after children in a better way, who can properly take care of the such types of children who are orphan. So even there are the workers and teachers who are mostly busy in looking after these all children, orphan children and so on. You take, let us go to the third point. It provides technical supply, equipment and other aids. Okay, raising for paper for textbook. So also UNICEF provides the textbook, that means the study books, to equipment the medicines to high health clinics, and also it provides the medicine for the we call the children, so that children could be properly taken care of when they are physically facing problems or when they are sick or they are having disease and so on. Number four, it assists government to plan, develop and extend community-based service in the field of maternal and child health. And also UNICEF assists the governments of different countries in the field of maternal and child health. Maternal means to look after the mothers, and it also looks after the uh, child health. That means the children should be properly having the health and so on, and also they should be provided nutrition, good food and clean water and sanitation. Next, it provides help to children and mothers in emergencies arising from the natural calamities. So when uh, children and mother faces any natural calamities, that means when they are, we call, when they suffer physically, mentally during the natural calamities, then UNICEF provides they would call the emergency support to these children as well as the mothers. Six, it makes effort to prevent disease like tuberculosis, TB, malaria, eye disease, skin disease and so on. And it also helps the children and to take care of them and to, we call, save them from the different diseases like TB, malaria, eye disease and so on. So this way, dear students, UNICEF is doing tremendous work for the betterment of the children of the world. So today we will discuss up to this particular point, and then we will go to the other point in the next video. Thank you.